Happy Monday. Today we're going to talk about 3 ways to introduce a new piece to your choir. I feel like it's good timing because I'm about to start doing that myself. So if you are a choir teacher, choir director, even if you teach young students like elementary kids and you do like an elementary choir, or you just teach them music for concerts, even if you do a lot of other things during class too, this is for you. So raise your hand in the comments if that is you, because this applies really well. And I thought I would talk about it today because I am doing some planning now for later this week on how I'm going to introduce a couple different pieces. And so there's different ways that I like to introduce things depending on the piece, depending on a variety of factors. So I thought I would show you just three ways to introduce a new piece to your choir, even though there's tons out there. All right. First of all, I should just introduce myself quick in case you're new around here. My name is Andrea Orem. I am a music teacher, a choir teacher, and I teach voice. I teach a few other instruments as well, but then I also are new music teachers. So if that's you, give me a holler. I'm so glad you're here, and it's so good to connect with you. But today, again, we're talking about 3 ways to introduce a new piece to your choir. So I thought I would give you a little example. I'm doing with one of my choirs, Always Something Sings. It is a Ralph Waldo Emerson poem. It's very beautiful. And Dan Forrest said it so nicely. So one way you can introduce a piece to your choir, if you have a really good recording of something, is to give them the score and then have them follow along visually while you play a recording. So that can give them a little flavor for like how the piece is structured. That can give them a flavor for perhaps what their part does throughout the piece. So if you already know that who you're giving what part, then you can tell them, hey, you are on the lowest note, or you are on the middle note, or you are on the top part, something like that. And so they can kind of follow it with their eyes and start learning a little bit where that's going to go. They might not put together 2 and 2. They might, depending on how good your group is at sight reading, they may not be able to hear where their part is along with looking at it, but they can at least get an idea of which parts go up and down. So that's one way you can introduce a piece to them. This is a fun way to do like upbeat pieces because it gets them really excited about some of the accompaniments and other pieces that can go with what they'll be singing. So you can have them listen along. So that's kind of an auditory start. You could also start rhythmically. So you could start on a certain page. I haven't decided exactly how I'm teaching this piece yet, but you could start with if you think this is challenging for your group, you could start with a rhythmic element. You could have them speak the rhythm. You could have them even sing the rhythm. But you could focus on speaking the words and speaking the rhythm, like if there's dotted rhythms or things that they are less familiar with and that come up a lot in the piece, you could start rhythmically. You could also start with a melodic motif or something that comes up over and over, especially if it is, especially if it is a more challenging motif for them to take in, right? If it has a challenging interval in it, or if they have a specific harmony part that is challenging, but that it happens over and over, you could start by introducing your new piece with that part. You also, sorry about this. I think I need some water. But anyway, you could also start, I guess this is more than 3 ways now, isn't it? Here's a bonus one. You could also start with, now I forgot what I was going to say. Dang it. Oh, yeah, now I remember. So you could also start with, if there is a piece that has a chorus, like a refrain that keeps coming back over and over, you could start by teaching just the refrain. And then as you add in the verses, if the verses change or if the verses have different harmonies and things like that, then when they come back to that refrain or that chorus, then they're already familiar with that little part. Okay. Actually, okay, here's a 5th one. Suddenly now we're at 5 ways to introduce a new piece to your choir. I told you I'm full of them, full of ways you can introduce a piece to your choir. And if you want to check out more on this kind of thing, you can check out the Music Lover to Music Teacher group because there's all sorts of other helpful information in the guide section. So if you're new around here, go check that out. There's a link in the description of this video. If you're already in the group, great. Go check out the guide section because there's lots of gold. And I do this on a lot of videos where I'm like, oh, 3, actually now it's 5. That's how we roll, right? But anyway, here is one more way you could introduce your choir to a new piece of music. You could start with like a layering effect. So I typically like to start on the bass notes, the lowest part, not the melody. Because if I start on the melody, my students who are singing harmonies, if they're not super confident with harmonies yet, if they're a newer group, will try and sing the melody when it's their turn if they've already heard it or if they're really familiar with it. So I always start with the lowest notes and I layer it in and then I add the melody on the top, and then those who are singing parts have really heard those first. So it's in their head first and it's in their ear first. So there's so many ways here's a 6th way. Okay, last way for today, okay, because I gotta go. But the 6th way you can introduce a new piece to your choir is to start at the end, teach the last part, and then add a new part in as you go, so that when you add like a new page or a new section of the song, so that when you are teaching that section, once they learn that specific section, then you can just add the next piece on, the next piece on, the next piece on, and they already know once you get to the end of the chunk you're teaching how to go into the next section. So you can kind of run the whole thing by starting at the end and adding chunks on the front. So lots of different ways to help you introduce a new piece to your choir. Let me know in the comments which one's your favorite or which one you're like, ooh, I want to try that one with a specific piece. I'm starting with my choir soon. Let me know what piece it is too, because I love hearing what people are teaching. And I love being able to share ideas. And if it's something I'm already familiar with, it might help somebody else who has never heard of that piece. So share in the comments a piece that you're interested in trying one of these ideas with, because it helps all of us. All right. Let me see if we have a comment or two here. Carrie Fisher said, these sound like really great tips for music teachers. Oh, they are, Carrie. So much so. Thanks for sharing, my friend. So if you are a music teacher, let me know in the comments what you're going to try this week or next week, whenever you're starting some new music with your choir. Have an awesome day. Bye for now. See you tomorrow.